Lucie.
It's a paradise.
Let's for family.
Weather so nice.
Sun-filled beauty.
Positively.
Port St. Lucie.
Welcome to Positively Port St. Lucie. I'm Sarah Prohaska, your host from the Port St. Lucie Communications Department, and I'm also here with my fellow Communications Department worker, Whitney Frazier, and we are here to talk about utility art and other really fun projects happening in our Neighborhood Services Department with Carmen Capizzuto. Welcome, Carmen.
Hey, good morning. Thank you.
Okay, so Carmen, you are director of the Port St. Lucie Neighborhood Services Department, and one of the projects that I have heard so much positive feedback from our residents is a project that your department has been heading up and working on really hard, and that is the we call it utility box cover art. But for people who don't know what that is, can you just kind of explain what that is?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And thanks again for having me on the show to
You're
talk
welcome.
about this. It's really interesting because the program is funded by recycling revenue.
Yes.
So the more our residents can recycle, the more revenue the city gets back, and the more beautification projects, public improvement projects we can get into. So I just wanted to backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
The NICE program is the name of the program. It's Neighborhood Improvement and Community Engagement.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is we're improving the neighborhoods with this utility box wrap program, and we're also engaging the community. So phase one was all about Florida environmental images. So you may have seen those throughout the city. We've had huge success with that program. Other cities have called us wanting to know how we did it, who did we use.
Oh, nice.
Asking all kinds of questions about the life of the wraps and
Okay.
those types of things.
And just for people who might have no clue what we're talking about, these are, traffic, around a traffic light is a control box, right?
Yep.
And they're usually just plain metal, just kind of not very pretty.
Aluminum-looking cabinets,
Yeah.
yep.
And we have wrapped them with a vinyl wrap. It looks really cool. A lot of people think it's actually painted on there. That's how great they look. Just to kind of give art in different places and provide
Right.
art in like places you might not expect. And people are driving around town. How many of these do you have out right now?
Well, the city has about 100 signalized intersections,
Okay.
and we've done 60 so far.
Okay.
But yes, they're at every signalized intersection, there's a traffic control box, and in that's kind of like the brains of what runs the intersection. And so what this program does, it brings art to public places. So now, I know when I drive around and I see one that's not wrapped, I'm just kind of itching to see, when it's going to be done next. You sort of expect them now.
Yeah.
Whereas for so many years, we didn't have that.
Yeah. And it's really cool. People are, I've heard so much positive feedback from this because people are saying, oh, I was so excited. I found another one. And, this one's they have their favorites.
Yeah.
And they're all right now scenes of Florida's natural beauty. And they're really pretty. And except for one street, Whitney, what's the
Veterans
the veterans?
Memorial?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some really great wraps that I've seen driving around, and I went down the road and they are on Veterans Memorial Highway. All the ones that are there are wrapped in honor of our military service, which I think is absolutely great. We got a lot of positive feedback when we shared that on our social media outlets. So what is coming up? Like, what is new?
Yes.
What's next?
Thank you for that question. Phase two is a call to artists. So now, well, let me rewind a little bit. Phase one, we did the Florida environmental images, and we also engaged with the school district for
That's
the
right.
the art students. So we have involved artists before at the student level. Now we're looking for images from professional artists who would like to share those images with the city. We have a call to artists going out.
Yes.
And want people to send us their images. You can send as many as you want, or just send us one. We'll take those images, and we're going to get them over to the Public Art Advisory Committee
Yes.
in our Planning and Zoning Department. And then they will make recommendations on which ones to use, and then the city will ultimately make that final decision.
Yeah.
But we're going to have, it's kind of like an open process right now. The first deadline's October 30th. If you miss that one, then January 30th would be the next one after that to
Okay.
submit.
So if you don't have time to submit before October 30th, this
Yes.
is going to be going on throughout the whole phase two, which will be all of pretty
All-
much next fiscal year, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
So starting right now in October through next September.
Okay.
don't worry too much about the deadlines. If you have images, submit them, and then, we'll work them into our deadlines as they come up.
I have a question for you about how many are going to be wrapped in phase 2. So like how many images are going to be selected?
That's a good detailed question.
Okay.
And I'm going to,
I know we wrapped
I
about,
believe
what'd
we're
you say,
planning on,
65 in the first phase?
yeah, we have about 100 intersections. We've done 60, so I'm going to say around 30 to 40 more. Phase 2 is our goal to get them all done in the city, to get all of them wrapped.
Okay, so those that are submitting their art, are they like purely volunteer work, no compensation, or how is that going to work? Like-
That's correct, yeah. So there's no compensation being offered. The city actually has to go through the expense of using some of that recycling money and then paying to have the image digitally reproduced onto the wrap.
But they do have their signature, right? There's
Yes.
an area for their signature,
Yes.
so it's a way to promote your art.
Correct, yeah. So we do have guidelines where the artist can put the signature onto the piece, and then we'll promote it on our city website
Yeah.
with your department
Yeah,
as well.
we may put up the bio of the artist on the website.
Oh, that's gonna be
So that
great.
would be, I mean, if
Yep.
you're looking for a way to get your art out there in the world and to get it known a little bit, especially locally, this could be a really good opportunity because you don't have to outlay any costs for materials or
You just need an email
just your
of the-
image.
of the image, yep.
Yep, so.
And
yeah.
we can do the rest from there.
Where do they submit their artwork?
They'll submit it to an email address that we have for the NICE program. It's nice, N-I-C-E, @cityofpsl.com. And the life of these images, of the wraps, are about 5 years. So if someone's art is selected, they can expect to see it for up to 5 years.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, is there a phone number, in case people, and this information will be on the NICE
Yeah.
website, but if there is there a phone number
Yep.
if
Just
an artist
call.
has questions?
Yeah, I would just say call the Neighborhood Services Department,
Okay.
the main line, 871-5010.
Okay.
And then staff can direct you to the program manager, Mark, who handles all of the NICE program.
So when you say art, like, are you referring to something that was hand painted or maybe a piece of photography? Or what does that exactly include?
It includes everything, such as you mentioned. I believe we were going down the lines of painted scenes. However, if we use photography now in phase 1.
Yeah.
So I think if it qualifies
It's
through,
open to- yeah.
it's kind of open to anything that beautifies these traffic signal boxes.
And there is not a theme, so
Not a theme.
if you do a particular type of art and you want to, so if it, just submit it, you never know, it could be picked.
Yeah. And a good example would be to look at Port St. Lucie Boulevard in Eroso, right here at City Hall. There's
Okay.
there's a Guy Harvey painting there. And then you can go down the street a little bit and you can see others that are wrapped with just images, photography images.
And also our website, if you go to www.cityofpsl.com, I think it's /utility box, there is a map with pictures of every single box, so it can
Yep.
kind of give you ideas of what these look like. And it really is a great little way to promote your art. And you don't have to be a professional artist. That's not a requirement here. So if you
Right.
are just an amateur artist, but you want to submit it, go ahead, right?
So-
Could be a great opportunity for somebody.
Yeah.
No age restrictions?
No.
No age, we do require the parents' consent if you're a minor, and then we'll take care of that in-house.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
interesting when you go to different cities and you don't see them. You kind of expect that
Yeah.
I feel a little spoiled when I drive around Port St. Lucie and see
Yeah.
these amazing pieces of art.
It really is cool, and how people are proud of the ones that are in their neighborhoods too. They now say, "Oh, my neighborhood is by the panther," or
Yeah.
the box with the panther, or I'm by the sea
Yeah.
turtle. So
Turn right at the turtle.
Yeah,
to get to
exactly.
my
It's a
house, yeah.
little landmark. So so it's a really cool program.
Yep,
that-
and like I said, I just can't push enough the recycling revenue that's
Yeah.
behind it, so.
Yeah.
it's
Such
not-
a unique way
yeah.
to use those funds.
It is city funding, but it's not. I mean, this is new money that comes in every month from our recycling
yeah.
program.
And so the more you recycle, the more hopefully of these sorts
Absolutely.
of beautification projects we can do. And I know that is one critique that I may have heard. People say, "Oh, you don't use my property tax money on things like this," but it's not. It's recycling funds. So
That is correct.
that's, we're not using property tax money on this. It's money we get when residents recycle.
Yeah, we've done a lot of amazing things with that money, including outdoor fitness stations along Crosstown.
Yes.
And along South Bend at Jessica Clinton Park.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually building a park with some of this money,
Mm-hmm.
which will include a dog park. So I'll have to come back on the show
Yeah,
to
we'll
talk
go-
about all these different
yeah,
things.
Yeah. All right. So in the meantime, you do have something else you wanted to touch on while we're here. The city council recently passed a new ordinance regarding parking in swales that we just want to touch on really quickly, just to kind of help residents know what's happening with this now.
Yeah. So right now, you have to have the permission of the property owner to park in somebody's swale. Before, you didn't have to. It was considered city right-of-way, public property, and then people could park in your front yard, just at their choice.
Okay.
So now we passed some legislation, a new ordinance, which requires the property owners or the tenants' consent to have someone park there. Exclusion would be bus stops. If there is a bus stop on your street, people are allowed to park there for the loading and unloading of
Okay.
passengers for that. So we're going to be putting out a lot of communication with your office
Yes.
about the do's and don'ts of parking. But it's something that as the city grows, we need to get a handle on, because as we have fewer vacant lots, there's going to be fewer opportunities to control how cars are parked and how they're parked safely.
Okay.
So, yep, so you
All
have to
right.
park
And-
still the same, 12 inches off
Okay.
of the road if you're going to
Okay.
park in someone's swale. So don't put two tires on the road.
And
Pull
keep-
completely
yeah.
off the road. Park with the flow of traffic.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, you can call, us at the Neighborhood Services
Okay.
Department.
And this is in effect right now,
This
right?
is in effect right now, yes.
Okay. So, yep, so perhaps say my neighbor across the street's having a party and people are parking in my swale without my permission, I can go and ask them to move?
That's our first option is,
Okay.
go talk to the neighbor or talk to whoever parked the car and ask them if they can move it, or how long they're going to be there.
Okay.
Ask those kind of questions. If you're not comfortable with that, you could always contact Neighborhood Services during daytime hours,
Okay.
7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
And we'll come out and try to find out who parked the vehicle there, and we'll try to establish contact and say that it needs to be moved.
Okay.
And after hours, you can contact the police department as well.
Okay. Or opposite, I'm having a party and I know I need some extra parking. I could go across the street and ask my neighbor, can my guests park here? And if they say yes, it's perfectly fine, right?
As long as you invite them to the party, they typically
Okay.
say yes.
All right. Okay. So that was just one thing
Yeah.
we wanted to get out there to just let our residents know that is in effect right now. And Carmen, anything else that you want to touch on while you're here?
Yeah, well, we went through Hurricane Irma, as everyone knows here, and I feel the city did an amazing job preparing for the storm, responding to the storm, and I really want to thank our church groups.
Yes.
Who came in after the fact to help people with moving debris out to the streets. That's something that simple. I mean, we have residents that need this type of help, and the city does not go on private property to help individual homeowners, and we just can't do that by law, actually. So
Yeah.
we had our church volunteers, Christ Fellowship, Exponential Church, Calvary PSL, and others call up to say, what can I do to help people after the storm?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the Neighborhood Services Department just kept a list of people that would call in saying, I need my fence stood up, or I need tarp put on my roof, need my debris hauled out. And so we activated our church volunteers, and they went out for several days and helped dozens and dozens of people.
Oh, that's
so really would
really
like to thank those church groups as well. Along the lines of hurricanes, we have debris
Yes.
that comes out. I just want to talk a little bit about that. Waste Pro did resume their normal schedules shortly after the storm.
Yes.
Waste Pro, so the city hires an emergency debris contractor to come in because those exceed our typical capacity.
Yes.
When a storm generates a lot of debris, like they typically do. So Waste Pro began immediately handling bagged, containerized waste, which is bagged or canned.
Yeah.
And they resumed all normal operations.
In the recycling also.
In the recycling, yep. So now they're picking up small piles as well. So I just want to tell residents, if you have, we're seeing new debris coming out that's not storm related.
And they're just being put on top of the storm piles?
Yeah,
Okay.
try not to pile it onto your existing pile. Keep it in small piles right next to it, and Waste Pro will be getting those on the regular route.
Okay. So, and also if they put it in a bag or a container on their regular
On the regular day, it'll be picked
vegetative
up.
trash day, it'll get
Right.
picked up. If it's in a bag or a container or a small pile.
Yep.
Okay. All
And,
right.
as for the larger piles, I feel like we should address that. The Public Works has the contractor,
Yes.
and they're overseeing that. There is a process for that, so we appreciate everyone's patience and understanding, knowing that those piles have to be monitored for potential reimbursement.
Yes, and it was a huge amount of debris that was generated by the storm, so it does take a little bit of time, and we appreciate residents being patient with us. And there is a map on our website. Do you remember it's www.
They can still go to City of PSL/Irma and
Oh,
find
okay.
that debris map there.
Okay, and that is updated daily, and it tells what areas have been picked up by the emergency debris contractor and which ones haven't. So you can see, okay, in my neighborhood, 75%'s been picked up so far, 25 hasn't, and it's updated every day. So that
Right.
kind of might give residents a little bit of,
Yeah.
just feel like they know it's happening and where it's happening. So.
And they can put in their address, and the map will actually zoom right into their street, and it's color coordinated. So if your street is still showing up red, that means they haven't been by yet. And if it's green, that means it's been completed. So.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. Well, thank you, Carmen. We really appreciate you coming on.
My
And
pleasure. Thank
we
you.
look forward to these artists, seeing what these artists produce for us.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And we'll be right back after these messages.